He's got a concussion. He's in concussion protocol.
So, well, I saw him after practice. I'm not sure now. So.
Yeah, it's just part of the steps that he's got to go through, and based on the way he's felt today, he's able to start to do a little bit of activity.
But out.
He's not playing.
Yeah. Okay. You're gonna start the same way.
Yes.
Were you worried when you saw that collision the other night? It's clear Stephen was immediately concerned. So did you know it was Ferguson?
I didn't see the play till after, so I just know that he was down, and the players were immediately calling the bench out. So I was concerned when they called him out when he was lying there, but he was conscious. You know, he was awake. He was answering and responding. So I didn't actually see the collision, but he was on the floor, and they kind of waved us out pretty quickly. I was concerned.
Billy, I think since about the beginning of January, you guys have a losing record against teams that are currently in the playoff race. I mean, does that concern you, or is that something that you think about as these games go on down the stretch?
You know, I've never bought into even the fact where maybe early in the year against some of those quote-unquote teams with really, really good records, that we had a good record against it, that really meant anything. And it was the same thing where, you know, our record wasn't great against teams that maybe didn't have a great record. To me, it's more about, you know, us playing consistently and playing better, regardless of who we're playing against. Every game presents and poses different challenges and things that you have to do. So, you know, we'll see how we respond coming off of the game the other night.
You probably answered this question much, but for those of us out of town, what would you speak to the impact that the loss of Andre Robertson has had for you guys, and what's that's changed and how you tried to kind of catch that hold?
Well, I just think on the defensive end, it's obviously had a big impact on our team just based on the numbers. I think if you look at him when he was playing, the impact that he made, not only his ability to defend particular individual players, but, you know, as a team defender, he was very, very good. And I still think that this group has ability to, you know, get back to being a much better defensive team than we've been in his absence. But there's no question there's been an impact, and I think the numbers would show that.
Billy, is there anything you've noticed about how they're defending Paul 2 games in? His shooting numbers are way down against them. Are they doing different things that maybe you guys now can respond to and get him free a little time?
I don't really think it's a matter of getting him necessarily free. He's gotten free. I think he's actually had some pretty good looks. I think the biggest thing with Paul, you know, is different players on him will play him with a different level of aggressiveness. You know, and I think sometimes that's been something that's maybe altered his shooting percentages. You know, last time we played against him, I think he was 2 for 17 from the floor. But, you know, he did some good things. You know, he got into the paint, he got into the teeth of the defense, he had some good open looks. The ball didn't go in the basket. But I have confidence in him, you know, when he's getting the kind of looks that he's getting and his ability to pass and make plays. But, you know, for whatever reason, he has not shot the ball particularly well against these guys.
Billy, after this, after tomorrow, you're going to have a back-to-back. Have you guys thought yet about how you handle Carmelo on that one? Is that going to be something that you're going to always do on back-to-backs, or are you going to examine it game by game?
Well, it's kind of the same thing. You know, after every game, I'll get with the medical staff the next day to see where guys are at. You know, the cumulative effect of the week. You know, starting another week on Sunday, Monday. You know, going into that back-to-back. But those are things that we would talk about probably after the game was over with the next day.
Now that you've got Corey in the lineup for a few games, what are you seeing from him that maybe he can help you, especially with Andre's absence?
You know, he's a veteran guy. He's been around, played defense against a lot of different players. You know, last game against Phoenix was his first start. He's making progress, I think, in picking up things systematically. There's been a lot thrown at him in a very short period of time. I think because of his experience, he's been able to retain and pick up things at a pretty rapid rate. I think that's been helpful. I still think there's a lot more that he needs to continue to grasp. There's been a lot, like I said before, thrown at him. But he's another active, long defender. He's got a good feel of how to play. I think he'll get more and more accustomed to playing with that starting group. I didn't know how it would go starting him against Phoenix. It was something I wanted to look at. We didn't get off to necessarily a great start against Phoenix. But I thought he played well, and I think the more he plays, the more he's around these guys, the better he'll be.
Do you find, is it going to be easier to use the same playbook you had with Andre, having Corey kind of using him the same way?
Similar, but there's other things that I think that we can do with Corey, just knowing his background and being around him. certainly, there's things that he probably, his shooting has not been his forte throughout his career, but I do believe that, he's a shooter out of the corner, that if he gets good looks, we need him to take that. I do think, similar to Andre, we need him cutting and getting on the move. That's where Andre was really, really good. I thought he was special at that. And I think he had a great connection with Russell because they played together for so many years. Corey's not going to quite have that. He did have one back cut against Phoenix. I think those are areas where Corey is a good cutter, but I don't think he's probably at the level that maybe Andre was at, before his injury.
Does putting Corey in the lineup bring it closer to what you had with Andre, where you have a guy that can, individually kind of stop plays or get over screens? Having Corey in there, does it bring it closer to that defensive kind of integrity that Andre has?
Well, Corey knows his role is going to be to defend, but I think there's so much more to defense than just guarding one particular guy. He's got to understand rotations. He's got to understand where help's coming from. He's got to understand all those things. I think he's learning those. The biggest thing with Corey, and it's the same thing with Paul, those guys are elite defenders, and there's a balance between giving them the freedom to get into passing lanes and to use their length and create deflections and steals. But there's also a point too where you can take yourself out of plays where you're too aggressive, you overplay too many situations, you get back cut or you lose a man. So there's a balance with Corey, because as good as he is defensively and his ability to guard people one-on-one, he is a disruptive guy. So you don't want to take away that disruptiveness from him. It's the same thing with Paul. You don't want to take away the disruptiveness to them, but you also don't want to have to be at a point where it's putting our defense, in a compromising situation. And because of both of those guys' length and range and ability to guard different players, you got to find that balance where they can be who they are and be disruptive, but also have the understanding that when they're out of position, what that does to our team defensively.
Do you still approach running the Spurs off the three-point line the same way you would with some of the opponents you've had leading up to this game, since the Spurs don't take as many three-point attempts?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me with the three-point line is the rhythm threes. I think at this level, when you give teams rhythm threes where guys are catching and shooting in rhythm, there's certainly guys in this league that can do it off the dribble as well. But I think that's the one thing that we've got to eliminate is those rhythm catch and shoot threes where guys are, in rhythm shooting. We've got to get out there and get guys off the line. We also have to know personnel too. There's certain guys that you maybe don't need to run off the line because they're drivers, but clearly there's guys that are terrific catch and shoot guys that you got to get them off the line.
Is there something that you'd look at Alex Abreu to do to solidify himself in the rotation?
No, I mean, Alex has done a good job. He's been much better defensively than what he was a year ago, in particular off the ball and on the ball. I should say on the ball, but off the ball he's gotten better from where he was early in the year. But no, I mean, I got confidence we'll use him, when we see fit to use him.
Anybody else?